Okay, that is a good question. It depends on how they contract. It could be 20, 80, it could be 10, 90. It's all about contracts. Agreement between the persons who are going into the formation of the company. I'll just give you an example. It's not a matter of a law, a strict law, but it's a matter of pure contract. So the rights that will be attached to classes of shares, there are no limits. The only limits are the ones we're going to talk about when we look at non-voting shares and weighted shares. CAMA tries to prevent a particular shareholder by dominating the rest of the shareholders through what they call weighted shares or through the issuance of non-voting shares. Apart from those prohibitions, the contract between the persons who are forming the company, the contract will provide for anything, any right attached to the share, provided it does not violate the provisions of the law, is allowed. It could be a right to dividends, like I said. It could be a right to appoint the auditor. It could be a right to appoint the legal advisor of the firm. It could be a right to appoint the managing director of the firm. It could be a right to be made director for life. On and on and on as the case may be. Are there questions? But most times, the rights attached to shares have to do with money. Most times, the rights attached to shares have to do with money. So it could be, it could provide, he has an ordinary share, Harriet has an ordinary share, Wisdom has an ordinary share, I have an ordinary share, so the four of us are ordinary shareholders. Yet we could provide in the articles or in the agreement, shareholders agreement or whatsoever, the terms of issue, that my own ordinary share and his own ordinary share, if the company declares dividends, it could provide that both of us are entitled to 70% of the dividends. Both of them are entitled to 30%. That means both of us are in a class by ourselves. Why? Because of the rights attached to our shares. Both of them are in a class by themselves because of the rights attached to their shares. So it's all about the rights that are attached to a share. What makes a share to be in a particular class is basically because of the right that is attached to that share. Let's make progress. Okay, so but I started talking about the three basic classifications that we know. The three basic classifications are preferred shares, ordinary shares, and preference shares. So these are basic classification of shares. And so I tried explaining them the other day, but I will try and recap for the sake of wisdom who has not been around. So we have deferred shares. Now let me start with ordinary shares. Ordinary shares. These are shares that bear the risk, of corporate failure. These are the equity owners. These are the true owners of the company. That's why they call them equity shares. They also call equity shares because they are the true owners of the company. They bear the risk of failure. They have no special rights to dividends. They have no special rights to dividends. If the company prospers, they prosper with the company. And they also have no limits on the extent of prosperity they can get from the company. They have no limits on the extent of prosperity. So I can buy an ordinary share of 1 naira and it can increase to 1 billion. As the company keeps increasing, my share value keeps increasing. So those are ordinary shares. I was trying to give an example before I was cut short last week about Standard Oil Corporation that was established in the later part of the 19th century in the US by 3 shareholders. One of them was John D. Rockefeller, one was Henry Flagler, and there was a third person. And I was trying to talk about how an ordinary share can appreciate. The value of the shares in the company kept on increasing, but later on they had some disagreements, and so one of them, Henry Flagler, sold his shares to John D. Rockefeller and he left the company. But it was later calculated that estimated that if he had kept his shares, as at 1930, it would have appreciated to billions today. It would have appreciated to billions. But he sold his shares, built a mansion that had 100 rooms, and said he wanted to host the Queen of England, and he just paid it out of he just paid it away actually because of that wrong move he made. So ordinary shareholders bear the risk, but they also stand to gain in the event that the company profits. They are not automatically entitled to dividends, and yes, they are not automatically entitled to dividends. When we come to dividends, I will still emphasize the fact that no matter how much profits the company makes, the shareholders cannot compel the directors to declare dividends. Shareholders cannot compel directors to declare dividends. Directors have that discretion. So if directors don't declare dividends, other shareholders cannot compel them to declare dividends. So they are not automatically entitled to dividends in the company. Okay, so I'll just talk briefly about preference shares. Preference shares, you keep coming in contact with them. They're not very, very popular, especially as far as Nigeria is concerned, but it's provided for in the law. What is a preference share? It's a share that gives you a preferred right to dividends. That is basically what it is. It gives you a preferred right to dividends. So a preference shareholder becomes entitled to dividends in accordance with the terms of issue of his share. So the terms of issue will provide that every year you are entitled to 10% dividend. So you buy a share in a company of 100 naira, a preference share, and you have an automatic right to 5% dividend every year. Are you with me? Are you with me? So once the company makes profits, the directors don't have to declare dividends. Once the company has made profits, your rights to dividends become automatic. So it's no more at the discretion of the directors. It's a contractual affair. And if the company doesn't make profits that particular year, the default rule is that this dividend is cumulative. The default rule is that the dividend is cumulative. So if in 2012 I should be given 5%, but the company did not make profit, it jumps over to 2013, so I'm now entitled to 10%. If in 2013 nothing was given, it moves on to 2014, it is cumulative. Another thing about preference shares again is that the default rule is that they are not entitled to any surplus in the event that the company is being wound up. Remember, like I said the first semester, I think I've said it here, when the company is being dissolved, a general meeting is called, a liquidator is appointed, an accountant does his job, they gather all the assets of the company, they pay all their debts, satisfy all their creditors, extinguish all their liabilities. Whatsoever is left is divided among the shareholders in proportion to their shareholding. Are you with me? Are you with me? Yes. So if the company has so much left, definitely those who have invested much will also enjoy much. But a preference shareholder, if the company is being wound up, is only entitled to his capital. That is the return of capital. He's only entitled to his capital that he invested in the company. He's not entitled to participate in any surplus. That is the default rule. However, again, because the default rule, it could be varied by contract. And so, the contract may provide that a preference shareholder will have the right to participate in surplusage. Where such a provision is inserted, that preference share is said to be a participatory preference share. Maybe you should write that down. Yes, please. Maybe you should not write that down. That where a preference shareholder is entitled by virtue of the terms of issue, contract, by virtue of the terms of issue, contract, or the articles of association, to participate in any surplus, in the event that the company is being wound up, such preference share can be said to be a participatory preference share. Such a preference share can be said to be a participatory preference share, or participating preference share. So that means you have the right to participate when the company has made profit, to also participate in that profit, excess profit. Participatory. So the person, the thing about the preference share is that they don't really bear much risk. It's not as though they don't have any risk at all. They do, but their risk is very, very limited. Are you with me? It's very, very limited in the company. One reason is because the issue of the surrender of withdrawal rights most of the time does not apply to them because of the option of redemption. Almost all preference shares are redeemable, either at the option of the company or at the option of the shareholder. Are you with me? So, unlike the ordinary shareholder who surrenders his right to withdraw his investments, the preference shareholder does not necessarily surrender that right. And even if he does, he has the option to redeem it. Actually, it is the company that redeems, but the preference shareholder could ask the company to redeem. That's why I say either at the option of the company or at the option of the shareholder. So the company issues a preference share to Harriet, and every year they are paying her dividends. And they say, no, this thing is becoming a burden to us. And so they can write to her and say, we want to exercise our right to redemption. And if you remember from your land law, that I think equity also, that the equitable right to redeem is almost a perpetual right. Is it not so? Until there's a formal foreclosure. So the company will redeem, and so they pay her off. Go. She also will ask the company, please redeem these preference shares, give me my capital and my dividends, let me go. So those kind of preference shares are referred to as redeemable preference shares. Again, like I said, it's a default provision. Is anybody saying something? Any questions?
Is there preference share that cannot redeem?
Yes. Good question. That's why I said it's a default. Redemption of preference share does not operate by default. So if it's not expressly provided for in the contract, then it's not redeemable. Are you with me? It was provided for in the contract. I want to also say something. Okay, so I think basically that is that about preference shares. We'll still visit it very soon. So different shares are also referred to as founders shares. These are also called equity shareholders, and different shareholders are stand to benefit so much if the company does well. I hope you are not listening. So basically, because of the risk they bear and because of the benefits they stand to get. Matthias, please pass across the paper. Good. So they are entitled to, the deferred shareholders are also entitled to repayment of capital if the company is being wound up. But these shares always have special rights attached to them. You know, the owner of the share is a deferred share, or they also called founder shares, like I said. He could reserve certain benefits for himself. Then the fact that the company is being wound up, I will take this percentage of all the profits. Are you with me? While the company is a going concern and the company is declaring dividends annually as they make profits, he may not be entitled to dividends. That is why I say that their rights are deferred to ordinary shareholders. So they defer their rights, not like somebody defends his ambition. They defer their rights in the company till the company is being wound up. But while the company is a going concern and directors declare dividends, they may not get anything. Again, it's a function of contract. It depends on what the contract provides. It's not a fixed law. But their benefits normally come in the event that the company is being wound up. And so a lot of people are suspicious about deferred shares. They are very suspicious about deferred shares. So they are not very, very popular, but they can still be found in small private companies or in family, close family companies. So the Investment and Securities Act, ISA, also mandates all companies that are issuing what is referred to as a prospectus. If a company is issuing a prospectus is a document that a company issues when it is coming to the market for the first time. The company is making what they call an initial public offer. They want to raise money from the public. They are meant to issue that document called a prospectus, which will give details about the company. Everything you want to know about the company should be in that document. So the Investment and Securities Act specifically mandates all companies coming to the market for the first time to state the terms of all deferred or founder shares, all deferred shares. State the terms, the benefits. Because like I said, people are always suspicious of such shares. So ISA is saying to alleviate that suspicion, let there be transparency. Let's know every benefit you stand to gain in the event that the company is being wound up. So that is in sections 64 sub 1 and 67 sub 1 of the Investment and Securities Act 2007. You can also find it, I think, in the third schedule of the Act. Yes, I forgot to point out something, that the preference shareholder, that is why it's called preferred, anyway, preferred shares, they must be paid dividends before other ordinary shareholders are paid. I just want to point that out. Please look at section 144 of PAMA. Look at 144 of PAMA and master it. Master it. You cannot understand the preference share company if you don't understand section 144 of the Act. Kindly look at it. Okay. Yes, please. Talk out loud, let me hear you.
How do you look at general shares? Under transferability of shares applies to bigger shares.
Bigger shares.
Bigger shares.
Yes, it does. Or still going to transfer. Just yes, it does. Okay, so I've already said that a preference share could be redeemed to will be released. Section 120 of CAMA recognizes that the company can issue redeemable shares. But I don't want us to jump because we look at it now. Start looking for Section 158. Now look at the company's dealings in its own shares. But suffice to state that the redeemable share is a share that the company issues that the company can pay you back your capital and buy back. The company can pay you back your capital and buy it back from you. In American parlance, it is referred to as share buy back. But that word is not in CAMA, so I will not use it when teaching. But it's good that you still know that when you see some people talking about share buyback, it's not as though my lecturer did not teach me. What they're simply talking about is a redeemable share, but we'll get to it in the course of this class. Just to point out that the redeemable shares can be issued to employees. They can be issued to employees. You know, some companies try to encourage their employees to have a heart in what they are doing. Because if people, man is selfish by nature, you know, that is the truth. And people who are selfless are very, very few. Man is selfish by nature. So one way to motivate people to work well is to know that they have an interest there. Are you with me? Yes, I used to hear a story by somebody to share of a man wanted to build a house, and he called his son-in-law and gave him a contract. Please build this house for me. And the son-in-law never knew that the father-in-law wanted to give him the house, and so he built it anyhow, used fake materials, did not, supervise the building. It was just rubbish. After I explained it all, he now came with the key. I said, Daddy, this is the key. The man said, oh, you are being a good son-in-law. That is your house. And so he began to cry and all that. But if you had known that I was going to stay there, would you have done things better? Definitely. So one way companies try to align the interest of shareholders to the interest of the company is to give them shares in the firm. That was referred to as an employee share scheme. So that scheme may provide that shares may be issued to the employees at a discount. I'll still come to it. Or they will give him a redeemable share. So if they are selling shares to the public for 100 naira, and this man is an employee, what's your name, sir? Kemen. Okay, so if Mr. Kemen is an employee there, they may give him shares in that company for 10 naira, which is going at the rate of 100, but it's being sold to him for 10 naira. But they will insert that that share could be redeemable if he leaves the employment. Are you with me? Yeah, so as long as he's working there, he has an interest in the progress of the company. Because the company progresses, his share value will keep on appreciating. It will keep appreciating. And so, I'm coming. And so he has an interest to ensure that he does things properly. But when he's leaving the company will redeem his shares. So it's not only preference shares that are redeemable, even other shares will be redeemable. Yes, please.
I'm going to ask, between different shares and ordinary shares, in the case of liquidation, which one will be by?
In the case of
liquidation.
Okay, which of them will do what? Come first. Okay. When the company is being liquidated, when the company is being wound up, they start to satisfy all their liabilities. The preference shareholders will get their whatever they have to get first. Ordinary shareholders may come in. Again, it depends on the contract because CAMA did not stipulate. So it depends on the contract. Ordinary shareholders may come in and take whatever they want to take. But the first shareholders would have inserted a nice provision that will satisfy them. Do you understand? Like I said, they will provide, or they may provide that we are not entitled to dividends in this company while the company is a going concern. But if the company is being wound up, we will take 50% of the surplusage after normal return of capital. Before we now share the surplus, the bounty, the first shareholders will take 50%. Whatever is left, ordinary shareholders will share it amongst themselves. So there are hybrids. Hybrids require what are referred to as preferred ordinary shares. Preferred ordinary shares. What is a preferred ordinary share? The preferred ordinary shareholder is entitled to its preferred dividend annually. Yet, if the company now makes profits and they are now dividing dividends among their shareholders, remember that when the company is dividing dividends among shareholders, he doesn't take anything. Are you with me? Are you with me? All he takes is that percentage that was agreed between him and the company. Your share is 100 naira. Every year we will pay you 5 naira. Even if you make 500 billion, it's not your business. Your own is 5 naira. So that is all he's looking at. But the preferred ordinary shareholder, having taken his 5 naira, may still be entitled to participate in the divisible profits with the rest of the ordinary shareholders. Again, it's a thing of contract. I'm very talking about cumulative redeemable preference share. Cumulative redeemable preference share. What is a cumulative redeemable preference share? Okay, you can see that. Let me explain this. A cumulative redeemable preference share is a share you hold in the company. Once you hold a preferred share in the company, annually you are entitled to a fixed rate of dividend. Are you with me? Are you with me? For example, I'm holding 5 naira worth of shares in this company. And the agreement provides that every year the company will give me 1 naira if they make profits. If they make profits. Now in 2012, the company did not make profits. If I was an ordinary shareholder, that would have been the end for me. But for a cumulative preference shareholder, the 1 naira will jump to 2013. So the company will now owe you. So it's cumulative. Every year that the company does not pay him, he jumps to the other year, he jumps to the other year, he keeps adding. Are you with me? Then it is a redeemable share because the company could write to Gladys and say, Gladys, you owe preference shares in this company, but we are tired of paying you a fixed rate of dividend every year. We want to redeem it. So they return your capital back to you. So if you bought the shares for 50 naira, they return the 50 naira back to you. And any other thing they owe you, they return and they cancel the shares or they do whatever they want to do with it. They may reallot it as the case may be. That's what is a cumulative redeemable preference share. Yes, Mr. Wilson. I talk about what please?
Redeemable shares. Yes, we do. If I can recall back to what the talk was first
yes,
joining a distinction between the members of the company and the agents of the company.
Yes.
I don't know if in this instance an employee now comes back to buy shares in the company. Wouldn't you bridge that distinguished line?
No.
That was set for that nature of the company.
Good question. You can sit down wisdom. Good question. Your shareholding, your being an employee in the company makes you a servant of the company. Are you with me? I think under section 166 of CAMA. So your relationship with the company is that of a master and a servant. You are not a member in the company. When you hold shares in the company, you now become a member. Different contractual relations now exist. So it doesn't conflict at all. In fact, the law encourages employees to be a part of the business. When we look at directors under section 251 of CAMA, the law provides that the company may even require directors to have a share qualification. So before you can be a director in this company, you must hold this percentage of shares. And if you don't acquire it, you lose your directorship. So, as an executive director is an employee, but he now has a share qualification. So he's a member and he's an employee, but there are different contractual relations. Any other question, please? Any other question, please? My brother, what is a participating preference share? I just explained it now. You didn't catch it? No problem. That young man behind wisdom, help us. What is a participating preference share? Why didn't you get it? If I cost your mother now, you will get it. No, why will you not get it? Okay, sit down. Who can help us? Anybody?
Let me just try.
Yes, please.
I think the participatory preference share is when a share is defined that you are going to get a particular amount.
Yes.
After that, you still participate in the activities of the company.
Okay. He has an idea, but no. Yes, Birai.
Okay, a participating preference shareholder is like a shareholder that is entitled by reason of the issue of the share, the contract or the article of association to maybe surpluses that arise after dividends have been shared.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ellie. So let me explain it again. If you are a preference shareholder, the advantage is that you will. The advantage is that every year they are paying you something. Are you with me? Are you with me? That is your own. Every year as they make profit, you must get your own. And if you don't get anything this year, you are not too worried because the thing is jumping to next year. There may even be provision for interest. So this year you are entitled to 5 naira. The company writes to you and says, Wisdom, we didn't make profits. So we'll pay you next year. So it's cumulative. But since they didn't pay you this year, there may be provision that next year you will be paid interest. Are you with me? Because 5 naira last year is not the same as 5 naira this year. Sometimes they will calculate the time value of money. And so a preference shareholder does not really have any risk. His risk is limited. It's not as though he doesn't have any risk, but his risk